You are listening to the voices of the Occultinarium. Get ready to get sidetracked, for things get weird here. Welcome.
Hello and welcome to tonight's episode of the Occultinarium. We are the voices of the Occultinarium, and your hosts tonight are
Luigi,
Emily and Lynn. Tonight we shall continue our explorations into the tarot cards, and we just reached the third decan of Cancer, and so we shall look into the Four of Cups. I got the Thoth version right there, and then we got the Smith version right here.
We also decided to keep going with the Hermetic one and the Golden Dawn one.
Yes, that's right, because why not?
Why
that's
not?
So beautiful.
A very stark contrast, though. Like the Hermetic is just so black and white, and it's kind of, I feel it's like kind of gritty with its design. And then the Golden Dawn is more like, colorful and quite vibrant and very like peaceful. And I mean, this one anyway, I've not seen the darker themed ones yet because Emily keeps them secret. But it's just such a big contrast to like this really gritty, design and black and white ink as well, to then like woo colors and happiness.
And there, Amelie. Go on.
I do find that the artwork in the Golden Dawn one is quite simple. There's not like too many details, so I guess it's quite easy to see what it is. It's very straightforward, like just straightforward.
When you hold it, it really sends me a feeling of serenity. When I look at it, at least I feel like, welcome, sit down, let us take care of you. Grab a chair.
Do you mean the Four of Cups in particular, or all the cards you've seen so far?
No. Just this particular Four of Cups that Amelie is holding, the one from the Golden Dawn deck.
When I'm looking at it, it really reminds me of a stage,
Yes.
The water looks like curtains.
Yeah, it does look like a curtain. And in the middle you have like a hand holding I guess it's a lotus again from what I can see.
Yeah, it is.
And the background is very vibrant blues and the dripping cups. One of the no, actually, that's right, because the cups are blue, but then the waters are white here. And in comparison to the Hermetic, because your waters flow really softly and gently, and in the Hermetics they're just gushing. It's just like overflowing. You got the overflow is a bit more aggressive in the Hermetic, and there we go, going with the two decks that are actually not regular ones. We discuss these first, apparently. This is how we roll. We just pick up stuff as we feel, apparently. Also, Cancer everywhere. Like here's like the Cancer sign. It just really wanted to drive it home, I guess, that it's a Cancer card. And we have the moon on top. But maybe, do you want to go to the I see normal cards, but do you want to go to the regular? None of them are normal or regular, but to the Thoth and the Smith deck.
Yeah, then we can circle back.
Start there, because people are probably more...
deck is the one that people are most used to.
Yes, correctly, correct, I would say so. It's been a weekend. Oh yeah, so we're recording this session on the 20th of July, 2026. So, we are just at the cusp of, we're still in the decan here. So we're doing it. We're uploading after, but, doesn't matter. You can retrospect on what happened in your deck and listening to this episode. And so on the Smith deck, for people who are not that familiar, we see a person, presumably a man, sitting under a tree on a little hill with 3 cups in front of him. He has his arms folded and he's sitting cross-legged. He's staring at the 3 cups, while a 4th cup is presented to him by a godly hand coming out of a cloud. And he looks to be quite brooding, or he doesn't look very happy, right? But there he is.
He's too full.
So the Four of Cups has a few names. We have the Lord of, what is Blended Pleasures, was it?
Blended Pleasure.
Blended Pleasure. Because it's pleasure, but is it fully pleasure? And in the Thoth, we're calling it the Lord of Luxury. So this one's a bit brighter in
the
a little bit brighter in
Lordship of
colors.
Luxury.
The Lordship of Luxury. Although, like, just looking at the colors, I mean, the yellows and oranges, they're clearly very attractive, and it's very light, nice blues. But you do have these gray skies on top. And from just the images, I mean, not to go into depth to Zoom, but we never managed that anyway. To pull you right in there, what we see in comparison to, let me just pull up the other ones that we had. So we've had the Two of Cups. The Two of Cups is where we come from. It's the first from the decans of the Cancer, which was called Love. You can check out the episode. The water is overflowing here and is flowing into the oceans. And in the Three, which was just coming before, you also overflowing water. Water is flowing back into the ocean. Now, in the Four, we see that the waters are still overflowing into the cups, but suddenly they're not actually coming back into the ocean. So it's like you're having full cups, which in itself can be like a good feeling to sit with, like you're feeling, it's luxurious, you've got everything you need, you don't need more than that, but you stop giving back to the source. It's basically stagnant, or there's a danger of it going stagnant in the Thoth imagery, right? While in the
It's kind
Smith
of like
imagery,
the pleasure is at the very end.
Yeah, and it's like a feeling where people often want to hold tighter, I guess, because it seems to feel nice, but then also it doesn't go anywhere. Like it won't get you to evolve further.
The next stage.
The next stage is locked. And I mean, in the Smith, that's what you said something about it, Amelie, earlier. But we're having the Three Cups, and you said he doesn't want the fourth, right? He's got enough cups already. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, he's full.
Yeah, he's full.
He's holding it. He's like holding his stomach. He's like, ugh, come on.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. It could also be that he's not noticing, right? This is another interpretation, that he's so focused on the cups in front of him that he's not noticing. It could be either he doesn't want it because he already has enough, or he doesn't know what to do with it, or he's not seeing it. So there's different interpretations of that. How do you usually see that, Luigi? Because you're working
I feel
more
like
with that.
with this one, it's not to say that I always see it like this, but just based on the formula that it's composed of, I think it's a very powerful card, because when you think about it, so you have still a card in the Decan of Cancer, in the number 4, which hermetically is a number of water, so the element of Cancer, 4 belonging to Jupiter, which is exalted in Cancer, but the Decan itself ruled by the moon, the natural ruler of Cancer. So in a way, this is a very powerful card. So I guess I would say if you're a Cancer and you receive a reading and you receive this card, it could be a good omen, but it really depends on the question, what's going on with the cards around it, and so forth. I think the depiction of it, both in the Smith and the Crowley version of the card, I think it focuses a lot on the shadow, which you talked about and pointed towards, which is stagnation, which is the shadow of the number 4. So when you were describing like the water falling or flowing into the cups, but no longer overflowing into the ocean, for example, that can be an aspect of the 4, because the 4 is so stable, it contains the water. And even though this is practical and perhaps, dare I say, sustainable, maybe not sustainable, maybe that's the wrong word, but the shadow of it is, again, hinder the change, transformation, evolution, and metamorphosis and whatnot. So I think what happens in the images a lot of the times, or at the very least, with Thoth and Smith, is that they tend to focus a lot on the shadow aspect of the card. And the only reason why I can think that, and this is purely my humble perspective, it probably can be because it's a very divine feminine card, and we know that the ceremonial magicians and the hermetic magicians, there's always been a bit of the divine feminine being somewhat inferior, that I say. Please don't torch us or lynch us, or at least don't torch and lynch me for saying this, but it's just based on observations, reflections, and whatever piece of material I managed to come across. There is a sense that the divine masculine, the sacred masculine, is somewhat more exalted than the divine feminine. And you have a lot of divine feminine in the 4 of Cups. So that can be one of the many reasons out there as to why they tend to focus more on the shadow versus the light of the card.
That's quite a mic drop, Luigi. I'm glad you brought that up.
Boom.
That hadn't occurred to me, that just because it's very feminine, that's why some people focus more on the negative side, and that's what we're also often taught, right? Yeah, that is Thanks for that a little
Because
bit.
it's not
And
the
please
only,
go
I
on.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I was gonna simply add to summarize it. I'm not just trying to start a what's it called, a conspiracy. Although I do know that
Please
some of us
do.
here we love conspiracies. But I think when we think about it, and we'll talk about it in more detail when the other cards come around. But it's not the only card that gets a bit of a rep. And when you analyze the card, it turns out that it's a very heavily divine feminine influenced card. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Although I feel like at least for Thoth, I mean, we know like with the Thoth that there's like this split with the 7s and 8s, where Crowley definitely had favors and less favored cards, which is kind of a personal thing, right? But then again, with the feminine, since you're saying that, it's a little split because in some way, like what you're saying with the 4 of Cups, that maybe it's a bit negative because of that. But then again, he also has the sacred femininity in the Lust card, for example, and his whole well, I keep saying, want to say religion, but like his
In Thelema.
faith. Yeah, in Thelema, the central stage is also feminine power, but it is a different.
yeah.
It's not it's not a passive feminine power,
That's
right?
it. That's
And it's
the
not
thing.
passive. And Crowley, I feel he's very much despising passivity in many forms. Well, I mean, he's all about the will, right? And will and the fire is very active. It's action. It's very burning. And water is the exact, or it's the opposite power, the balancing power, but the opposite power of the fire. So he favors fire, also being born a fire sign.
Rising, yeah.
Yeah,
Rising in Leo, I think.
Yeah, in tropical anyway. So I'm not sure if the rising is still Leo and it's sidereal. We could check that out. I don't actually know that. What is Crowley's sidereal chart look like? But probably still fire because he's got a lot of that going on, right? But yeah, so yeah, that would make sense with him being in favor of the active feminine power and the entire Wands family, basically. But yeah, I can say a little bit about the decanic things again, because we haven't done that yet. So with the decanic rulers of this Decan, so again, like removed from the tarot, going more into the original decanic images and all that. The rulers are actually, as we know, it's in the ascending order is Jupiter. So we have Jupiter and Cancer, and the triplicity order is the moon. So we're having the planets or the astrological bodies that are strongest in Cancer are both the ruling planets of this decan. So Jupiter being exalted and moon ruling it, but we're both of them rule it in the 2 different systems. So that is quite a big thing. And for the energy of the decan itself, not necessarily what we're seeing in the cards, but it is this idea of that, from the 2 and from the 3, you're establishing something again. Right now, you're establishing what you want or what you need or your emotions, and in the one which is coming from in the 3 is like where you have it and where you're kind of having this protection, you're protecting what is yours and protecting your happiness and your joy and your abundance. And now on the 4th, you're at a point where you have so much that you almost have too much, and it's time for you to share that. And so as far as I've heard or learned, a lot of people who have their significant planets here or natives in this deck, they're often artists. And the idea here is also that to be able to fully delve, I like that word, to fully delve into the artistry or being an artist and being like, hey, now I just want to create, leave me alone, that the prerequisite for that is that you actually have everything else together. You have to have a stability, you have to have a job, you have to have, I mean, some people, I guess, can be poor and make good art, right? Or make art that is recognized, but it's not normally so often the case that you can feel, happy enough or stable enough and good enough to be like, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care about what's going on around me. I don't care about getting bread and butter and water. I'll just make art, right? So it's quite a luxurious thing to be able to do in that sense, to just completely focus on something like that. And that is kind of the feel behind that decan, that you can be very creative. You have the luxury to do so. And you sharing that with others, like this idea of sharing it is like a big idea.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I also what popped into my mind, and I have to check the dates, but because of the Chaldean or Chaldean, I'm not entirely sure of the pronunciation, but the order of the decans, we know that in the system, it technically started. So I think what I'm trying to say is, I feel like the card foreshadows the next decan to come, which would be the Five of Wands, and in that period, through the Egyptian calendar, that was the period of the year that it will the Nile will overflow,
Right.
and that marked the
yeah.
beginning of that calendar. So I think period we'll have to fact check that and double check. But I think period wise it starts with the Five of Wands, but it's interesting that it's preceded by this abundantly watery card, if that makes sense. Almost as if
Yes.
the foreshadow of what's to come, the
Yeah,
Nile being.
I can support that with the tiny pieces of things that I have collected in my mind, but I've heard that as well. I think when we talked about the first decan of Cancer, it was mentioned that in some calendars, this was actually in Hellenistic traditions where the year started instead of the first decan of Aries. So we also have the tradition where the year starts here, but then you have also traditions where it starts with the first decan of Leo. And I think as you mentioned, if I remember correct, that might have been like an Egyptian calendar where they start with that decan or like with that time period. And with it rings a bell when you say that, with the overflowing of the Nile coinciding with the time and that starting the year makes a lot of sense. And that rings true in my mind. I think I've heard of that before as well.
Yeah, just something interesting, like how the cards can often reflect worldly events like that. It's quite beautiful.
I mean, that's how the entire decanic system is built on, right? It's thousands and thousands of years of people looking in the sky and seeing, okay, we're having this constellation, this thing is going on right now, and this has happened this year. And then they write it down, and then the next year they write it down, and they write it down for like thousands of years. And then they came to this idea to create some, like they saw correspondences, right? We have very old, very, very old civilizations to thank for. And now people are like, oh, it's all bullshit, but, it's all based on observations.
Absolutely.
I call it bullshit if you want. I mean, it's whatever you want to believe.
If that makes you happy, you
it
do
makes
you, baby.
Happy. You do you. It's
they had maybe a little bit too much luxury, so they had a lot of time to
and not enough blended pleasure.
Yeah.
But I like this card. I know some people tend to get like, oh no, like most of the times these are people, I'm not trying to judge anyone, but a lot of the times that I got a bad reaction from an individual that has received the Four of Cups, most of the times they wouldn't know tarot in the way that perhaps like you and I guys know it. Because I particularly enjoy this card. Whenever I see it, I get a sense of relief a little bit. I get like, all right, chill the fuck down. Stop complaining. There's enough to go around. Please redirect your attention and focus to gratitude and whatnot. So yeah, I would say I'm fond of Team Four of Cups.
What about you, Amelie? Like, what first pops into your mind and heart when you see the cards?
I don't mind Four of Cups, but I also
don't mind.
Think I guess it depends also like who or where you are in your life, maybe, because I have a feeling that if you're a person that wants to do something and want to go places, you might feel like it's a little bit too calm. It almost feels maybe like I have too many choices almost. So you don't really know where to go. So you're just like, well, I'm just going to sit here and wait for something to happen.
If the mountain will come. No, wait, was it? If Mohammed doesn't go to the mountain will come to Mohammed. Something like that.
Or with the prophet. Yeah, if the prophet doesn't go to the mountain comes to the prophet.
Yeah.
If you don't want to use names.
I definitely did not butcher that saying.
No.
I don't know. I like this card because I think like if you're in a place where you kind of appreciate, or in a place where, let's say, I'm thinking of like, if you're in a place of like the Three of Pentacles, for example, where you've been working for the thing, like, and then you end up being in the Four of Cups. then you have the appreciation because you know you worked hard for whatever you have here, whatever is overflowing. So you kind of sit there and appreciate it. But I think you have to be, I don't know, either older or have the appreciation for this. Because if it just comes to you, you will miss out on the moment of just, just enjoying the moment. Also, I guess you can enjoy the moment because you know it might be over anytime. But I don't see it as negative. But it really depends.
Guess
It
it's
depends
like
like
when you-
who you're reading it for as well. If you read it in a reading, if someone
Always.
actually wants action, then they would probably find it a little bit,
stagnation, too stagnant and not very. It depends so much on your personality, right? Because if you're very comfortable in a silent, quiet space or silent, quiet, emotional space, right? Which Cancerian type person might be, then this is probably a really amazing card. Also, like Jupiter, Moon, like all the energies are very good for somebody who's very Cancerian at heart. But then if you have somebody who's like a Leo or something, or a Sagittarius, I know somebody who just really wants to go and wow, and like you said, and then they have this one, they're like more like, oh, fuck, I feel sorry about next beep. They feel like they're stuck or like in a swamp. They feel really uncomfortable with that kind of situation. So it's so personality and, like you said, situation dependent. I think I just had it recently in a reading, and there it was representative it was about like a relationship, and it was about a person who's like very like, kind of up in their mind and very like, and it was more representative of their partner and how their partner stabilizes them and their emotions. Otherwise they would just be like, so there it was like a very positive thing because it would like bring them down and kind of ground them or give them like a safe container for their emotions. So, there it was. Yeah.
Another aspect of Cancer. I was gonna say that it might be very partial of me to say this, but I'm not saying that I know every single Cancer person that exists on the planet, but I will say that I am surrounded by a fair amount of Cancerians in my life. And I think another aspect that there is depicted in the card is their ambition. When I say ambition is because, again, the Jupiter exaltation will influence like, I can have it all and more than all. And that's something that appears to be a consistency in all of the people in my life that are under the sign of Cancer. Because I usually, as a Capricorn and a Piscean, I tend to be easily satisfied. You don't have to go very hard to satisfy me. And so I get very surprised because I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And most of the times they come back at me like, what do you mean amazing? I only just getting started. I'm going to make it in ways that you can't even think of. And I get anxious and you're like, really? More than this? Really? Do you need to? Do you have to? And I think that's an aspect of the Smith version of the Four of Cups.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see if there are actually natives in this Decan, because that would change things, So that's an interesting thing to look into. Like, since I got into Decans, actually looking at which Decan people are born, not just in which sign, is a game changer.
One of them is actually the Four of Cups Decan, and other four of them are all like Three of Cups. All of them.
Abundant people.
I was also thinking when you said about, I don't know what it was, but it was something about feelings. It made me think about, when there are people, when you said, people that don't really like when things are too quiet. And then there are the people that just find it very difficult with like just being by themselves. And because you have the cups, obviously that's the emotional side of it. And then you also have the moon. You see kind of the darker aspects of yourself. And this might make a lot of people feel uncomfortable because you kind of, you have everything around you. Obviously you sit in luxury and you're there by yourself. So there's no, how people normally, we like to create problems because we like to resolve them. So there's always something. But when you have everything and you're by yourself, you have to do something with it. And if you're uncomfortable and if you don't really want to see like maybe the slightly more uncomfortable aspects of yourself, then it might be a very uncomfortable card for that reason,
Yeah.
get into
Yeah, I mean,
get
the
to
moon.
know yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the moon is reflective, right? It's the nature. So you start to, like, you might reflect on yourself, and then you have Jupiter being very expansive. So for people who do not like to be alone with themselves, like you said, do not like to reflect on things, it's probably very uncomfortable. Or in the same time, like this is a really strong card, right? If you have benefics in this deck, it can be really, really good. If you have malefics in this deck, and then it might be just the opposite. Because like Luigi, you said, like they have so much and they just have more and more. So it seems like there might be more candidates who have like really good planets in this decan. But if you have malefics in it, then it could easily be the other way around, that you always feel like you just cannot get enough, that it's never enough for you to be like happy or never enough to feel fulfilled. So that's like the other side of the decanic energy here as well.
Totally. I also, this is a bit controversial, but I also struggle. So obviously there can be aspects of the Queen of Cups in this card, but we know that based on the decanic rulership tradition, this is technically no longer the Queen of Cups, but the shadow of the Prince of Wands.
Yes.
And I say that to say, and we can talk about the Prince of Wands, but I say that to say purely because when I see the Four of Cups, I can't help but see the image of the Queen of Cups. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, it is what it is, as they say, as the young kids say. But I like to see hints of the Queen of Cups in the Four of Cups, and I don't think that's not necessarily wrong. But yeah, like traditionally speaking, it will be the shadow of the Prince of Wands, of the King of Wands.
Yes, we can bring him up here. So we have the Thoth Prince of Wands here, and as we said earlier, we're following that thing with that the princes are ruling that, and that the princes are the kings.
I don't think we had an episode to explain that, but maybe in the
still
future.
have to. No, we still have to make the episode dedicated to it, but we've mentioned it a few times, and we can justify why we're doing it. But there's other ways of doing it. But that's just how we're gonna roll. So the King of Wands, Prince of Wands are here, and that's their shadow sign. So what do we think then? So we know our princes and kings a little bit. So saying that they're a bit uncomfortable in this is, I guess it's exactly what Amelie, what you were saying. I suppose like you have so much fire, the kings, they're both with this element of fire and air. So they're the most active, opposite of passive. There we go. The opposite of passive. That word, elements there are, right? So they move, they do, they get things done. So this sitting still and reflecting is not in their nature at all.
I also get a particular plot or narrative rather, but it doesn't have to apply to any single reading, but it's a narrative that sometimes helps me at least understand more the principle of the shadow of the Four of Cups with the Prince of Wands. So if we include each decan or decan of the Prince of Wands, so we'll have the Four of Cups, the Five of Wands, and the Six of Wands. What comes to mind with that narrative is the luxury, I suppose, following Crowley's titles, or the abundance. Well, abundance is for the three, but what I'm saying is there is so much. Clearly, technically speaking, it's an emotional match. But let's entertain the thought that it might be not necessarily only emotional. Let's treat it as proper wealth, of matter, of state, of status, if even. So what the image that I'm getting is the wealthy aspects in the Four of Cups, the luxurious aspects of the Four of Cups, causing the strife and the war in the Five of Wands, like I want to conquer that. No, that's mine. It shall be mine. I claim this land under the name of my king and queen. So, and so forth and so forth. Eventually leading to the victory on the Six of Wands. Very Camelot-wise, very Arthurian. Like, which dragon will conquer the land? Dragon will sit on the throne of the kingdom of Camelot and whatnot. That's kind of the narrative that comes to mind.
Yeah. With that narrative, I immediately, it's got inspired to a similar narrative, but I was in my mind, I was focusing more on that. It's like the cups, and it might be feelings or whatnot. So in my mind, it was the battle over a lover.
A loved one.
So a loved one. So they were like very stable, luxurious, and feeling good, and all was well. And they had their woman or man, but let's go with the classic images of Arthurian legends or whatnot. And everything was good. And then bam, like if you say Arthurian, then we have this whole thing of like Guinevere with being like Lancelot and Arthur. So it was maybe like, no, but there's another. And then the whole struggle and strife and fighting and mama, she's mine. Well, she's just sitting there like, well, guys, can you just not make up and we all be friends? But then you're like, and then one of them may be winning in the sixth. But I got the romance aspect into that mix while you were talking, so that's why I started smiling and just had images in my head.
But
Like-
it applies. That's the thing with the cups around.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can
yeah.
totally apply.
I'm also thinking about the Three of Cups, when everyone is having fun and, it's very social here, very social, very like, but here he's like, oh God, I just
Party's
need a
over.
timeout. I need a timeout. I just need like, I love you guys, but it's just too much. Need a timeout. Maybe
It's the introvert. It's the introvert card. It's like when you've been partying and you just need to. That's me. Like this Saturday,
Maybe
basically.
that's why
when
I like it
was
so much.
I was just.
Yes.
I love being in company.
This is
It was
safe.
great, but I was exhausted, and I was just like, I need to lay down, have a nap.
I think most people think that. I think most people love this card because it's so fun and party, and all of that. And this is like, it's so boring. It's just, I think I prefer this.
Yeah,
This is where your fun begins.
Yeah,
Here
it's
you have to be
It's the
social.
extrovert card, and then the introvert Cancer card.
Yeah.
The two
And
is just
additionally-
very
Yeah, it is.
balanced. Yeah, but then the three is like, woohoo, it's the extroversion. And then you get to the introversion. Yeah.
Totally. And additionally, Amelie, because you're pointing out the progression between the 3 and the 4, I guess in the 3 of Cups, we had the chance or the opportunity to create, because 3s are very expansive and whatnot. In the 4, it's probably the first materialization of whatever we were aiming to create. I'm talking very metaphorically here. And I guess in the Smith version, perhaps even in the Thoth version, again, because of the innate ambition inspired by exaltation of Jupiter, maybe you're like, oh, but I wanted to create this. And instead, maybe you feel like you created that, I'm not, for people that are not watching me and my hand gesture and just listening to this and that, they're like, what's he talking about? But basically, like
Explain
the
your hand
material-
gestures, Italian.
the materialization of what you envisioned did not meet the expectations that you had when you were in the stage of the Three of Cups. Perhaps they fell beneath the expectation that you had in the Four of Cups, and therefore causing the aspect of I either want or I need more, and I was expecting more.
So it's like, actually, in theory, it worked, but it kind of didn't when I...
Yeah, to be honest, without giving too much information out, and hopefully this is a PG rating, but, it kind of reminds me of many one-night stands that I had in my life, thinking I'm on Three of Cups. It's going to wake up in the Four of Cups.
All right. Do we want to go into colors, if we can, a little bit on those?
Yeah,
If we
we can.
If we can. If you can.
Because you can. Well, there's also blue, isn't it, in the Four of Cups, which is
Yeah.
very much in conversation with the water element, the Briatic colors. You may have to help me, and by help me, I mean help my color blindness, because I see
Yes.
orange. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's what I see.
Yeah. Are we looking at the Thoth currently? You're looking at the Thoth, right?
Yeah, I was looking at the Thoth and a
Yes.
bit at the Golden Dome one, but I saw a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
oranges.
orange.
Mm.
Yeah, it is
Mm.
orange.
The cups are golden orange, and then you have this very light blue background of the ocean or of the waters, Bina. You have a slightly gray or slate gray sky, and then you have like a pink flower on top under the moon where the water is sprouting from, that is pink. And then vines, or what you want to call them, they seem a bit like a more deeper reddish brown,
Could be maroon, possibly.
maroon, possibly.
Because basically, from what I can see at least, the colors, the Yetziratic, which is the Kingdom of Air colors for Cancer, for the Chariot, and this being A card of the Chariot would be Rich, Bright, Russet, which, if I look, again, I'm very colorblind, but if I look at the screen, the cups that appear orange, when I look at the scale or the shade of Rich, Bright, Russet, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, it seems to be matching, so that would explain that. The color blue obviously will explain the Briatic color of Hesed. The gray, we know that Hesed stands underneath Chokmah, being gray in Briatic colors. And then the vines you mentioned could be maroon, which is the, let me double check, I think it's the Briatic color of Cancer. Yeah. The pink, that's an interesting one. Usually pink can relate to Tiferet in its Atziluthian colors, but I'm trying to think, why the pink? Why the pink?
I mean, it's
I
very
was about to
feminine,
say
right?
something, but I don't want to.
Go for it.
No, I don't know. It's like it's giving birth because it's
Yeah.
coming from the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it and also
So-
like something coming from the 3. You have the Lover's Path, which isn't connected to the 4, but that's pink on my tree of life anyway. But
Yeah,
that
and
aside,
also knowing Alistair, he was quite sexual, so
yeah,
it
Mm.
doesn't
it-
surprise me.
definitely. I mean, if you look at it, I mean the shape and everything, you can definitely see that it might be a very feminine shape. Yeah,
It's a lot of vagina.
it's a pretty pink vagina, and I mean she's right under the moon as well. So there we have all of the, and she's gushing. There we go. We're not PG-13 anymore.
We never have been.
We never have.
We just don't know the guidelines. That's all.
This is an adult channel. Healthy education here.
Because
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense because the 3 was the incubation of it, and this is the 4. This is the next one. Is also past the abyss. So it makes sense to me.
Absolutely. Also makes sense with the Hermetic, right? Where I said it was very like active and gushing and just like frothing
Yeah.
waters versus your very calm one. So these are very different energies.
Yeah, it can also be somewhat related to the Empress, but I may
Yeah,
have to look into
she's-
that.
Very pink. Yeah, no, she's got a lot of pink and the pelican and everything.
The Empress, although is Venus, there is a strong relationship with the moon. And we knew that the Empress obviously ruled the second decan. And again, the Empress purely representing the divine feminine. The sign of Cancer is a representation as well of the divine feminine, the mother of the zodiac. So there could be that as well, being the last decan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, any final thoughts on the 4 of Cups, the blended pleasure of luxury?
Well, one thing we haven't completely touched upon, which we should maybe touch upon, is actually the position on the Tree of Life. We just brushed that,
Yeah.
right? So that might be the final, the final thoughts. Because you talked about the 4 and you talked about Chesed, but we've not actually really looked at it. But if you're looking again, here's our Tree
I
of
was trying
Life,
to find it.
for example. Yeah. So we came from the 3 Bina. We actually passed our supernals now. That's like the first car again that we passed the supernals, and now we're in the 4 here, ruled by Jupiter as well. So the 4 is ruled by Jupiter, and then we have the Decan or Cancer, where Jupiter's exalted. So we're having like a lot of Jupiterian energy actually in this car. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a place of comfort for the sign that rules the card, for certain. And elementally speaking, it's really powerful in the realm of water.
And in this translation, the said translates to larva. So
Which
that's
is one of my favorite titles for Hesed.
not necessarily mercy, but it's like love. So it's pleasant. It can be, it can be very pleasant.
Yeah, and it can relate to the mantra of Cancer, to feel. And so to feel love in the 4 of Cups.
Love.
Yes.
So overrated.
But there's many different versions of love, isn't it?
But the human aspect of love, humans know nothing.
No. No, but we also talked about that in the primal love in the 2 of Cups, which might be,
yes.
So go check that out if you want to listen to us talking about love. All right. Well, are you satisfied with the luxury of yeah?
I think it would be, because you pointed out where it is in the tree, I think it would be interesting because I think this is the first 4 that we covered so far.
Yes.
So it will always be, we touched upon it when we were discussing the difference between the 3 of Cups and the 4 of Cups. So because of the jump through the abyss, I think it will always be intriguing if we keep in mind to have the conversation, like, how the changes from Binah materialized in Hesed following the jump through the abyss or over the abyss or underneath the abyss, who knows? Between the 3s and the 4s. So obviously we did this as a first. That's an interesting one.
But you know what? I just quickly. It makes me think about the Hanged Man as well, because I know there's lots of water, obviously, but there's also that kind of luxury. I guess it's not luxury to be hanging upside down, but it's the kind of time out that you spend is like the stillness. I don't find necessary. I find maybe this looks a little bit like stagnation, but like the stillness, I feel like that's the stillness that you would have in the 4 of Cups.
Like a spiritual sanctuary.
Yeah. And he chooses, for him, like he chooses it, right? It's hanging by choice.
Yeah. It's basically like that introvert,
Yes.
Social.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to our episode about this decan, the last decan of Cancer. We will soon get into the decans of Leo with a quite different energy. So if you're Leo or you're interested in fire, check us out next time we record. Oh, the 5 of Wands is next. Gonna get hot.
Don't you want some hot stuff?
Maybe this evening.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. Like, subscribe, post a comment. I'm sure you have lots of thoughts. And
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Or be, but...
No, not in the comments. It's
so
fine.
cool.
Don't be shy.
We won't
We're all
be
It's
there.
okay. They compose pictures, I think.
We're all introverts. We're all introverts at heart, really. Promise. Anyway, see you in the next episode. And blessed be and good night.
Good night.
Bye.
We are the voices of the Occultinarium. Welcome to the rabbit holes.